Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome in. Just getting things started here. How we all doing? Bear with. Alright. What's going on, guys? Welcome on in. Bitcoin sitting at $111,000. Pretty much all of the worst case scenarios playing out, unfortunately. Yup, CME gap filled as well, yup. The CME boys did get what they were looking for once again. So props to them. Definitely shout out to them. What's going on, guys? Welcome on. Welcome into the live stream here. How we all doing? Smash up those likes as you come in. You already know the deal. From the grey skies of UK London. Yes, mate. That's more or less a permanent state now, isn't it? Summer's over. How we doing, guys? Welcome into the live stream today. Bitcoin sitting at $111,000. Bitcoin dominance actually took a little bit of a drop down, which is nice. We're seeing pretty standard fluctuations here, to be honest. These coins all got knocked down a peg when the big dump happened, but well, some of them didn't. XRP is looking pretty strong right now. Ethereum, yeah, looking all right. It's hanging on. That's the important part. Shout out to Brian in the live chat saying, shash those likes, fam. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Brian. Welcome into the live stream, mate. What's up, Jay? What's up, Aaron? Papa Pump. Jeff. What's going on, Jeff? Planet Pokewood. Smash up those likes as you do come in, ladies and gents. We have a lot to cover today. We're going to be looking at some of the news that actually led us here. And today is an interesting day because it's the day before Trump and Xi Jinping meet. They're meeting on Thursday. So it's an interesting day. Rates were cut. Unfortunately, that's not reflected in the charts yet. Not that it particularly matters. Fed cuts rates by quarter point. Miran and Schmid dissent. Guessing that means they weren't happy with it. Powell says December cut far from a foregone conclusion. Hey, he's just being conservative. Stronger labor market is the best thing we can do for the public. I mean, are interest rates dropping really going to fix that? I think it's a little bit bigger than that right now. Papa Pump says, I'm just chilling at a hotel for my birthday. Happy birthday, Papa Pump. Thanks for tuning into the live stream on your birthday, dude. Always make time for the savvy live feeds, even at the restaurant. Hell yeah, dude. Shout out to you. Happy birthday, man. Happy birthday. I really appreciate that you chose to spend even just a tiny bit or a lot, whatever you like, of your birthday watching my content here. I do appreciate that. That's very, very nice to know. Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. It's good, man. It's good to chill on a birthday. I did, you know, I did a bunch of things for my birthdays earlier on, and then, I don't know. I'm like you now, man. I just like to chill, you know, just hang out. I'm happy. Don't really need to escape too much. Sebas says, we had a lot of live streams. Don't know if it's good. What's up, guys? Welcome into the stream. Let's get these likes above 50 right here. We're at 150 viewers. Smash up those likes. Every single one of you guys. Do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hussein says, I'm watching you from the middle of the ocean on an oil rig. What? Which ocean? What? That is so cool. Wow. Really, really cool. Yeah, so where in the world are we from today, ladies and gents? Drop it in the live chat. Let's see where we're all from. Smash those likes up. Let's get these likes well above 50. I know we can do that easy. You're by Goa, is that right? Or do you mean G of A? Oh, Gulf of America. Gulf of America. Of course, I said Goa, fam, like he's in India. We got South Africa, Alaska. What's going on in Alaska? That's cool. How is it up in Alaska? I've always wanted to go to Alaska. I want to go hunting bears. That's allowed in Alaska, right? Hunting bears? Would love to get a bear. I fucking hate bears. They look cuddly, though. I'll give them that. Slovenia, Sherborne, in Dorset, Scotland, DC. Cheers from New York. Yo, you guys are getting Mamdani soon. You guys are getting the London treatment in a minute. Watch out for that. Fucking hell. We had Sadiq Khan for like the last fucking 10 years or something, mate. It is actually a disaster. But, enjoy your guy, dude. Bless New York. God bless New York. Rhode Island, Colorado, Brazil, Tampa, Florida, UK, Andalusia, Spain. What's going on, guys? Alaska is cold and quiet. You can hunt it, but don't tell anyone. Sick. Smash up those likes, ladies and gents. We're 10 away from 50. Thank you all very, very much. Let's start getting this stream started here. The first key thing to cover for this Bitcoin price action is simply that well, the last time we were live, we were holding above this level. And unfortunately, Bitcoin did not manage to maintain that posture. It fell below this level, and then it even backtested it for resistance and triggered a much bigger drop down to 109k. There's probably a little bit of variation on where this way... No, not too much variation, so that's good. Londonistan, yup. Unfortunately. But, yeah, we've got 111k right here. We did bottom out at about 109. Is the dump over? I mean, again, I want to look at the stock market for clarity on this. There was a sharp drop here. I'm not sure exactly what caused this drop yet. I haven't actually looked. It seems like it might just be a reaction to the rates cutting. And I think there was like another big thing that happened today, which is probably super obvious that I should be remembering. But hopefully I'm really clarifying to you guys how much, you know, to what extent. I do not care about what these news headlines have to say, because they are quite reactionary, right? So let's see what this is. Trump and Xi set to formalize trade truce after months of chaos. There we go. Let's read the takeaways here. Trump and Xi are set to finalize a detente, don't know what that means, putting the world's biggest trade fight on hold, with initial signals indicating a pact that could see a rollback of some tariffs, fees, and export restrictions. How is that not going to be bullish for the markets if this actually does go through? What's up, Tin Man? Welcome to the live stream. Says, what's up, Sammy? Thanks for the live stream, folks. Please smash the like for your boy, Sammy. Thank you very much, sir. You legend. I do appreciate that very, very much. December rate cuts in doubt. I mean, it doesn't look like it's going to matter much, does it, right? Like, we're getting relatively predictable 0.25 cuts here. It seems like this was another 0.25 cut from what I've seen so far. I do need to just double check that here. It's probably just at the top, quarter point, right? So another 0.25 cut. I don't know what this is meant to be, like some sort of like scrolling Twitter thing of like everybody's reactions. Why do I care about everyone's reactions? I just want to know what actually happened. Nvidia becomes first 5 trillion firm on AI rally. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy, guys? I saw someone, I think it was like 𝐿𝐴 or somebody. Somebody said that at this point, Nvidia is now larger than the entire UK's GDP. In fact, I heard somebody else say that Nvidia is worth 2 Canadas in terms of Canada's output yearly. I don't even know if those numbers are anywhere near real. I don't think I fully understand what they mean. But you can grasp it. I mean, it makes sense, right? I mean, imagine the top. We already know California's economy shits on most countries in the world, but and that's primarily obviously just going to be because of tech, right? But NVIDIA, Microsoft's not in Cali. Is NVIDIA in Cali? I'm pretty sure they are. Apple, Google, they're still there. Facebook is still there. Tesla's not. Amazon's like Seattle or something, right? So Canada is the 51st state. Of course it is. Of course it is. And it's funny that they pretend they're not. Bless them. Pretty much always been the 51st state. But yeah, I just find it mad. I just find it mad how big it's gotten. You know what I'm saying? I mean, look at this rally. What an incredible, you know, I mean, from these support levels up, that's 16% up in a week, mate. What the hell? Lord Ahmed 2085 says he's a proud 51st stater. Shout out to Lord Ahmed in the live chat. Am I walking? Yes, sir, I am. That's why I'm bouncing around a little bit. But 207 right there for NVIDIA. Isn't that just crazy? Isn't that just insane? The absolute crazy valuation of this company. Here's Tesla. Tesla's looking sweet. Tesla's looking so good. Look at that wick down there. Grab a little bit of liquidity. Shoot back up. Tesla's looking sick. I'm liking the look of Tesla. I'm so bullish on Tesla. Somebody asked me, don't I see the obvious Wyckoff distribution? No, but I haven't really studied the pattern to know the shapes. I'm not taking it that serious, bro. I see that Tesla hit this all-time high after the Trump rally. And that was probably because Trump and Elon were bum buddies for a little bit. And now that they're not, and they've kind of got a little bit more of a distance between themselves, like before, you know, on good terms, but not necessarily, you know, brothers that love each other more than, you know, as much as any non-gay man can, to quote Elon. You know, the valuation's still back up at the same level. And I think that's because Elon's back at work. Are we really in a place where we're still fading Elon? This dude's got Optimus robots. I don't think people get it. It made a massive storm on Twitter yesterday. Neo, the $20,000 robot, $500 a month, supposedly shipping next year. It made rounds. Because we're getting that iRobot future. And these guys are the best prepared for it. And we're obviously all going to have robots in our homes in the future. How do we feel about that in the live chat? How do we feel about robots living in our houses? What's our, because, I mean, look, like, hopefully those of you that even don't like it are going to be, you know, aware enough to know that whether you like it or not, it'll become more and more approachable, more and more of a necessity in daily life. Everybody else will have one. People will eventually cave and get their own. People will eventually cave and get their own. I think that's real. I think that's very real. Can't wait. It can do all the chores. That's what I'm saying. I think a lot of people these days are actually, like, kind of on board with it, because who wants to fold their clothes and do all that other shit? We already live with robots. Our washing machines are robots. Our fridges are robots. Tons of people have cameras in their fridges, microphones on their TVs. You know, like, we already, like, the only difference with the robots that we have currently and the robots we're all going to have in 10 to 20 years, probably less, probably more like 5 to 10, I think the only real difference is the fact that our robots we currently have don't move. They're not that useful. They're more single purpose. But eventually, and it's crazy, right? Because I've been studying how FSD software works, full self-driving from Tesla. Because the whole world's going autonomous. We're not going to be driving cars in a couple of years. And maybe not a couple of years. Call it more like 5 to 10. But it really depends on where in the world you are. Australia already has full self-driving, like end to end. It'll take you from car park to car park across the whole country. You know, it'll even charge itself and it'll even park itself inside of charging bays. You know, so what happens when you've got autonomous Teslas that, I mean, they're already autonomous. They just require a driver to supervise them. What happens when the tech gets good enough that they don't need that? They're going to drive to chargers, and you won't have humans plugging them in. You'll have other robots plugging them in, fam. It will actually be quite unhinged. It'll actually be quite crazy. But Trisha says it's a big no. I get it. I get it. It's creepy as hell, dude. Like, what if they just, like, try and kill you in the night or something? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not on board with that. Smash up those likes, ladies and gents, if you are enjoying the stream so far. We're just covering a little bit of stocks analysis here. We're getting back to Bitcoin here in just a second. We are actually seeing a little bit of a drop on Bitcoin right now. So let's see how low this does go. Let's put the DGen cam on the right-hand side of the screen so that we can really get up close and see Bitcoin's price action while I chat shit about autonomous cars and robots. You know, and I totally get it, right? Like, driving your own car would be outlawed. I think so. I think it's going to be deemed too dangerous. I think it's going to be considered too dangerous to drive. I think it'll depend, right? Like, if you get enough vaccinations, you might get driving privileges on, like, you know, weekends or something. But yeah, for the most part, I think eventually, yeah, and I think that's probably, like, you know, 15, it's not more than 15 years away, is it? Every car is going to have some sort of full self-driving by law. Every car is going to have some sort of full self-driving in about 10 years, I think. Every car. Every single car. Every new car. So, you know, call it another 10 from there, another 15 from there. You don't need to outlaw it. That's the thing, right? You just need to make it unaffordable to the point where nobody can actually own a car, and then it's more economical for people to lease full self-driving capable cars. And that's the way the economy's headed, right? Nobody's going to be owning anything. It's the saddest, most fucking communist shit ever. But it's not actually communist at all. It's actually just hyper-capitalistic, but in a very bad way, because real capitalism would allow more people to kind of compete. You know, a good, healthy capitalism. But we don't have that. We have a lot of corruption riddled in between with socialism inside of our capitalist life. So it's really fucking rigged at that point, you know, because you still got, like, the capitalism drawbacks, but not the benefits. Not all of the benefits. You know, you got a lot of the benefits, but not all of them. So you get, like, extreme concentration of ownership at the top. And it's just fucking GG for everyone else, really. Like, it's actually a really, really tough position. And I mean, I think one of our only realistic shots out of this fucking mess is, you know, being in these markets, right? Like, as a normal fucking person, you know, like, you're pretty much going to be useless compared to robots pretty soon. You know, like, hey, so will I, by the way. You know, like, YouTubers, what do you mean crypto YouTube fam? You're going to be listening to an AI robot. Do you know what I'm saying? I think there's going to be a real currency of humans being authentic on the internet. So that's fantastic, right? And we're great at that, so that's not a problem. But I do think, you know, a lot of people, you know, quite, you know, understandably have turned to things like sports betting, trading, stonks, and so on and so forth. Because what the hell else are you going to do, fam? Best case scenario, rack up a couple fucking grand, you know, some nice stacks of money, and get into the markets and run it. I mean, that's how a lot of people take it now, right? Like, the normal path doesn't work for a lot of people. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I've seen a ton of people try this and then completely fuck their lives up. Me too, by the way. I was one of them. So, I understand how this works. But, I don't know, man. At the same time, what other choice do we have? And that's what I'm saying. So, that's why I like Tesla. That's why I like Tesla. Because this shit's coming no matter what. As long as Elon gets to keep his head on his shoulders. And hopefully he does. Fucking hell. The world's getting dangerous. But, you know, hopefully everybody stays safe. Nobody should be getting fucking, you know, offed like that. But, you know, like, save for some, like, catastrophe that's unpredictable. Some sort of black swan. This shit's fucking going. This shit is going. I see $2,000 hard-coded for this stock easy. 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 You're talking about a company that can produce cars at scale, robots at scale, they can iterate software at scale, they can produce factories at scale connected to the US president, in good terms with China. What do you mean, fam? What other auto manufacturer has that much going for it? How are we feeling in the live chat? Smash up those likes if you are tuning in here, ladies and gents. Welcome to the live stream. Bitcoin is sitting at 10,500 right now. It's just figuring itself out. It did have a little bit of a, you know, this was 111k right down to 108. And even at that was a pretty rapid dump throughout the earlier hours today. So it's been a pretty red day for Bitcoin, despite, you know, the stock market kind of holding its position, Bitcoin's weak right now. Like Bitcoin compared to the S&P 500, I think that's a misleading statement. I don't want to say it's weak, but it's a lot weaker than the S&P 500 right now. Or how do I say? I don't actually, because the thing is, I don't think it's weak. I think it just hasn't had its time yet. I think by many measures, it's far ahead of the S&P 500's performance. And so naturally, there's going to be a little bit of a kind of cooling off period. It's going to be a little bit slow to kind of get back up again. But when it does, we are still talking about Bitcoin, right? The same asset that you got into because it has violently, it has violent upward kind of price movements, right? I think that's really, really important. 110,300 right here. If we sweep this low, we are probably headed back down toward this wick. So let's see how this holds. We are on the 1 minute time frame right now, continuing to analyze this. See what the live chat says. 𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐴 says, you seem well-rounded in education. Thank you very much. Trisha says, I have a love-hate relationship with Alexa. I catch it listening and unplug it, so no robot for me. Yeah, it's creepy. And I think actually the model is everyone needs to be running these robots locally. You know, which like most people listening don't even know what that means probably. But, you know, like you can have things... You can have a request on your phone. Let's say you go to ChatGPT and you're like, how do I like bake this omelet? Bake an omelet. There you go. That shows you how proficient I am at cooking skills. I'm talking about baking omelets, but fuck it. Say you take your request about baking omelets to ChatGPT, that's going to be sent to the server, right? Presumably in San Francisco or something, and that's where it's going to get processed and, you know, stored or not stored, depending on, you know, how much you believe what they say, and then it'll return it back to your device. But doing it locally means that you process all of that within your phone. Like, you can do it while your phone's on airplane mode, while it doesn't have any connectivity of any sort, no Wi-Fi, no cellular. That's what doing something locally means. And I think that's going to be the move. I think everybody's going to want local robots. You know, things that are run from their house. You know, like that don't require an external server. That, let's say San Francisco switches off tomorrow, your house with your tech. Because there were people when AWS went down, and this is so funny. There are people when AWS went down, Amazon Web Services. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Amazon, one of the big things Amazon does is they provide basically web hosting for the internet, right? Like the internet uses their servers to, like a lot of the internet, call it like an exorbitant amount. I don't even know the percent, but a huge amount use Amazon's own servers to host their applications, their websites, their everything. And so there's a company, I think it's called like 8 Sleep, and they have beds that move. And there are some people, and the beds heat up or cool down as well for comfort. And the beds move to like put you in like ergonomic positions or whatever. And people had their beds stuck because the servers went down. I mean, we are living in a wild, wild world. People literally could not move their beds because the servers went down for AWS. So there is going to be a movement of people trying to run things locally in their own home. You know, there's this whole like self-sufficient craze right now across Europe, across America. Everybody wants to live off-grid. Everybody wants a farm. Everybody wants horses and the Bible. And, you know, they want to live the beautiful kind of, you know, poster life. That's going to come with wanting to run your tech locally as well. So I think that's interesting. And I think Tesla's going to go absolutely crazy. But let's bring it back to Bitcoin here. Let's take a look at Bitcoin on these larger time frames. Really break down where it is, where it might be going. Thank you all for smashing those likes. We're only 20 away from 100. Thank you all very much. Let's go through some of these questions. Logical234 says solar flare. That would be pretty bad for us, wouldn't it? We got a solar flare, EMP, stuff like that. Those are the two things that concern me. Yeah, those are like kind of the only two. That and those two things and quantum computing. I think these are the only and AI super intelligence. Those 4 things I think are the only 4 things I'm genuinely scared of. You know, in the future, as far as you know, things that somebody might be concerned about. You know, beyond the obvious stuff. So EMP, solar flares, AI superintelligence. I forgot the other one. Ban Usuri Worldwide says, I was going to buy Nvidia when it dipped to 180, but I didn't. Now I'm sidelined. Should I just buy now? Should I buy some Tesla too? See, I don't know, dude. So, I've bought a little bit of Tesla. I haven't bought Nvidia yet. I don't really know if I want to at these prices. You know, like, I just kind of feel like this thing is gone. And, I mean, granted, I said that, you know, earlier this year when it was, you know, like, nearly 50% lower. But what does that mean, dude? Like, that doesn't really... You know, that's not a justification for buying something that's still running. Like, I'd rather just buy something where I feel... I don't know, like, I don't want to feel bad about my entry, you know? And this thing is so far gone. I'm not even saying it's going to correct, because there's a big discussion to be had here about... You know, like, there's been these fears throughout this year, and I told you guys it was silly, and you guys have seen it now. You guys have seen it right in front of you. But how many of you were here earlier this year where I was telling you, listen... People are saying the AI bubble is happening now and it's popping and AI is slowing down. And I was like, this is silly. That's not how innovation works. You know, like, you just need a little bit more patience. A little bit more patience, you know, just because fucking GPT-5 wasn't as good as you thought it would be, it doesn't mean the entire AI industry is slowing down at all. You know, and that's something I really stressed on some of the live streams and videos recently. You guys remember that? Let me know in the live chat if you were here for that. I want to know how many of you guys were around when I said that. But, you know, with that in mind, and I think this is so important, with that in mind, you know, the fact that you can rate cut all you want, but if there isn't money in the system, it won't do anything. QT is the problem. I mean, there was a lot. I don't know. There was a lot in the system, I think, already. Was and still is. I think it's just, you know, the way the wealth kind of gets distributed. I really think that's kind of how that goes. Shit, I forgot my point, though. I forgot my point, but back to... I'm sure it'll come back, but back to NVIDIA. Yeah, 206. I don't know, man. I'm happy to let that go. You know, it could keep going much further. Good for NVIDIA. What I'm curious about is this. I'm curious about how fast or slow things are actually going. Right? So yeah, just remember now, because we were talking earlier this year about that AI bubble slowdown, right? And I said, actually, no, that's not how this works. And, you know, it's just like a temporary thing, and then innovation will be delivered again. And right now, I think we're seeing a lot of establishments of partnerships. We're seeing a lot of establishments of investment. We're seeing big moves, structurally big moves. So obviously, that's the kind of thing that precedes, you know, innovation, new releases into the market, higher stock prices. So, you know, to me, that looks pretty good. And we know that the entire, to an extent, the entire US economy is being propped up by AI. So, you know, if every other sector is kind of in a little bit of pain, but AI is just absolutely exploding, that could be enough. It looks like it's enough. I mean, I'm not saying things are going to be okay or good. They won't be. We know that. But, I mean, it just means UBI comes in, right? It means that we get some sort of universal basic income for people that can't take care of themselves because they, you know, they don't have an income. So, and I think that we saw that coming for a long time as well. You know, like, this was something that I personally, you know, read about for the first time, I think, when I was 13 years old or 14 years old, maybe 15. About 9-10 years ago. And, you know, I remember back then thinking this was a brilliant idea because I was a fucking communist child. Like every kid. I was an idiot. But, you know, even now, I don't think it's a terrible idea because what the hell else are you going to do? You know? Like, even now, it's like, shit. Like, okay, I get why it's bad, but, like, what else are you... And it works, by the way. It does work. There are lots of countries that subsidize their citizens completely. And those citizens actually have really good lives. I think it's a cultural thing. I think if you did it in a country like America, you'd have a lot of people buying stupid shit they don't need. But, you know, you got a culture that's a little bit more sensible. And it would be spent on housing or something. But I mean, that's just culture. You can fix that even in the West, you know? And I think it will get fixed because I think it's common sense. What do I think the news would do to the market? It doesn't make sense. I don't know what you mean by that, dude. I don't know what you mean by that. Crypto crashing? Well, I guess it's not crashing too much right now. But is this a crash? Well, No, but I mean, it'll meet a lot of people's definition. Nah, this is a crash, dude. 4% in 5 hours? That's a crash. 4% in 5 hours? That's pretty aggressive. That's pretty aggressive. It's not a bad crash at all. I wouldn't say it's a bad crash or a scary crash. And so let's talk about it a little bit. Let's talk about it a little bit, because I'm going through your questions, but I want to go through the Bitcoin stuff here real quick as well. So we'll put this back onto the minute time frame here. Probably time to remove these lines. We're seeing a little bit of a recovery for Bitcoin right now, which is nice. And then back to this chart here. So, I mean, look, we're returning back down to the bottom of this range. And as long as the S&P 500 and so on can kind of hold their structure, broadly speaking, I think Bitcoin has a decent chance at holding this. We might get a wick, whatever. I don't think that it's a strong level. So I guess we could get something that looks a little bit like this, right? Where we just kind of, you know, like that would be super typical of Bitcoin. Just kind of like ignore the level, sweep below it a little bit, hang out, still move up anyway. It's just, you know, maximum pains for the maximum number of people, basically. It's the most frustrating possible price action. And that would make sense to me. But again, what I wanted to remind you guys of, and I think that we forget this because it's so, you know, common that this happens here. But, you know, I think if we remind ourselves that, you know, I mean, it's so infrequent, it's not common. You know, Bitcoin does pull off moves like this. Now, this did happen, you know, nearly 4 months ago, but when the move did happen, on the daily time frame here, it took 2 days for Bitcoin to pump by 7.6%. That's huge. In the same way that 5% in 4 hours is huge, 7% in 2 days is huge. And, you know, across like 5-6 days, you're up by 15% and setting all-time highs. So, you know, a 15% move here already puts Bitcoin at all-time highs. You know, the point is that it can wake up pretty quickly, and it can stay woken up for a while. We saw how this happened here. Okay, so, you know, when market participants get frustrated at Bitcoin for doing almost nothing, you know, because it has been consolidating for 4 months, you know, that's very clear. It has been consolidating. It's now back down at support, but people have lost their fucking minds, right? They've absolutely lost their minds. They cannot tolerate this, you know, like what's going on with crypto right now. When you've got those kind of circumstances all lining up at the same time, I mean, that's how these pumps happened every single time. Even this pump here. This pump was huge. This one here that nobody wanted to happen because everybody wanted Bitcoin to crash, and they still do now. It's the same shit. I just think it's been the most ruthless, painful, obnoxious fucking market cycle I've ever seen in my life. Which is strange, because every market cycle, I say that. I say that every market cycle. If only we could go back to 2017, where you put your money in anything, shut your eyes, wait 3 days, and you made 30% profit. Wasn't that a fantastic time? But we're not there right now. The meta has changed. The meta has changed. The way to play this game has changed. There are ways to get an edge. I want to highlight to you guys BroFi, linked right here at the top of the description. We're in pre-launch right now, which means you're getting it at the lowest prices they'll ever be at. That's $100 to join. And I'm all about getting down into the nitty-gritty details of that meta. Those strategies that work right now in this market. We've had incredible results over the years, but this is the best offer we've put out so far. And tomorrow, we're doing a first weekly live, going through intimate chart breakdowns, future trade setup discussions. So all the future trade setups I'm looking at, both in the stock market and in crypto. We're going to do an in-depth Q&A. We might even do a roast my chart session. Really, really cool stuff. So get inside. That community is already up. You've already got the first bit of course content, the 5 key pillars. If you master those 5 key pillars, you will get this game in your hand forever. Forever. And they're simple. They're very simple. They're hard to do, but they're simple. So super, super cool stuff here. A direct look into how I'll be navigating this. Very, very detailed. Get inside right here. That's the link at the top of the description. Is the CME gap filled? Apparently there's another one at 92k. Not sure. Don't really look at them, as you know, but yeah, it looks to me like Bitcoin's just kind of hanging out, you know, just doing its thing. Nothing, honestly, nothing particularly impressive. you know, it's not good that it hasn't followed the S&P 500, but again, you know, a little bit of lag isn't going to scare me. You know, Bitcoin doesn't have to move in perfect step. It's just kind of more of a, you know, general kind of thing that we've noticed here with Bitcoin and the S&P 500. So, you know, plus minus a couple of weeks totally makes sense. Like I said, 2 weeks is very, very normal. 2 weeks is very, very normal. So, you know, there's still a decent amount of time to really see Bitcoin catch up. These pullbacks help Bitcoin. If Bitcoin can, you know, hold levels like this, you know, if tomorrow's meeting with the Chinese president, you know, goes well, then, I mean, that's huge, right? That's a really, really big deal. Let's continue reading through this a little bit here on this live stream. They lowered the interest rate by 0.25 and everything started dropping, including gold and stocks. I mean, it's just, you know, it's just a market rally kind of in anticipation, right? I think that's kind of what's happening. But, let's see. Initial signals indicate the leaders are readying a pact that could see a rollback of some tariffs, fees, and export restrictions threatened or implemented in recent months. That includes a reduction in U.S. duties linked to fentanyl, approval of the sale of TikTok's U.S. operations, soybean purchases, and a deal to halt measures, including China's sweeping plan to require licenses for goods with even a trace amount of its rare earths. The moment is a watershed for the global economy, markets, and companies that rely on trade, as well as for key sectors such as semiconductors and shipping that have become bargaining chips in the broader conflict. Still, the outcome looks more like a temporary pause in hostilities rather than a durable agreement that will alter the trajectory of a managed decoupling of the world's two leading economies. It's about the best case scenario that we were going to get, right? I mean, they're cooperating. It might not last forever. We're not expecting fucking, like, 5 years of, like, hassle-free trade, you know, between the West and China. That's not going to happen for some time, although it would be nice. But we don't need that either. A little bit of uncertainty, it's not going to hurt anybody, you know? It'll hurt you if you make a big deal out of it. What's this live stream step count? I actually don't have it, but I have done nearly 2 kilometers now. I was actually walking before I went live. So I'm at nearly 2 kilometers right now, which is pretty cool. We're breaking down again. Let's take a look. No, we're not. That's not true, bro. What are you talking about? Down by about $20, mate. Whoa. My treadmill did just stop working randomly. That's so weird. That's the second time that's happened live. I gotta check that out, because that is super dangerous. Well, I did check it out, actually. But I thought it was fixed. Alright. We are breaking down non-Bitcoin. Oh, man. Spiritual steps. What's the general consensus of everybody? Welcome to the channel, Nick. General consensus? What is the general consensus? Let's say it in the live chat. How are we feeling overall? Are we feeling worried, or are we still feeling optimistic about the market? Let me know in the live chat. Gonna be some wild earnings coming out. Let's continue reading through this. So, investors in both countries have cheered the positive signs, with the S&P 500 surging to new highs and benchmarks, and China also enjoying gains. A centerpiece of the deal is expected to be significant relief from the first round of tariffs Trump imposed on Chinese goods from his second term. Trump on Wednesday predicted that he would reduce the 20% levy he placed on Chinese goods for the nation's involvement in exporting fentanyl and precursor chemicals, a move that would help make China even more competitive than other regional manufacturing rivals. That tariff relief is in addition to the U.S. shelving 100% duty Trump had threatened to implement on November 1st, extending a truce on similar high duties scheduled to expire later next month, and pausing planned export controls on a broad swath of critical software and airplane parts. Trump's administration is also expected to roll back levies and fees hitting Chinese ships. It's just everything. Just everything that they did that was a little bit hostile or not so nice is being kind of scaled back. No, maybe not everything, but a lot of it, especially it seems a lot of the recently like added stuff, that's kind of being rolled back here. And I think that, you know, if the markets have been able to hold on as well as they have, then this news is probably going to be really, really good to help the market pick back up again. And actually match a little bit more of the strength that the market has shown us, right? The market's been showing us a lot of strength, but we haven't seen that in real trade and real, measures for the economy. And I don't know how much better those are going to get, but it's certainly going to get worse a little bit slower, right? We can put it that way, right? That it is like, if it does keep getting worse, it's going to be a little bit slower. And so if that is what we're looking at, then, again, that should help stock markets continue to maintain their kind of uptrend here. It seems to be, quite expertly handled, to be honest, where, I mean, look, there were a lot of casualties, and you might argue that the casualties aren't acceptable, like job losses and so on. Failing businesses. I totally understand where you'd be coming from if that is your argument. But I guess from this very narrow perspective, it has been a smashing success, right? That, things have just gotten faster and more extreme and so on. And then in between, there was just this little pullback here to enable the rally that we're on right now. And of course, more importantly than that, there was also, just the continuous strength despite, such a hostile global trade environment after Trump stepped in. So if we are seeing that pressure really start to ease off now as one of the biggest, countries that got affected by it being China, then I think, again, that's going to be, just an absolutely massive sign, honestly, for these markets here that, this continued. I mean, just look at this fucking trend, dude. Just this idea that this can continue. I mean, it's going more or less vertical right now, which, almost just doesn't even make sense. So some sort of pullback, definitely due at this stage, right? But at the same time, I don't know. Like, it doesn't even feel... I'm hearing people say that the bulls are, like, over the top euphoric, but where? Everybody's a loser. It's just AI, that's kind of steaming ahead. It has to correct significantly at some point, but when? Exactly. And it, it should correct now, right? Just by looking at it. But... I mean, this shit can go on for a while. I mean, like, we need to remember the basic tenets of, how irrational a market can get. It can stay irrational for a long time. This is what I'm saying, is that, like, in the backdrop of the market being so irrationally strong, how inconceivable is it really that one day Bitcoin just prints a fucking 10K candle and fucks everybody's mind up? Just the same way it did when we had the liquidation event and Bitcoin went down, if the same thing happens again on the reverse. And that Bitcoin keeps those gains and that altcoins shoot up with it. It's like it only sounds as far-fetched as every single other time that the exact same thing I'm talking about happened in this market cycle already, because it has happened, a good few times already. So I don't know. I just don't think it's that simple. Is the point? I think that there's actually a lot of cause for. It's been trap after trap, but has it actually? Because the markets are up. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's been difficult to trade it. I will concede that it's been difficult to trade it. And if that's what you mean by trap, then yeah, I'm totally with you. But as far as anything else, being a trap, I don't know, man. Whales handing the keys over to the Black Rocks. It could be. It could be. I don't really know. I think they'll all win. It's just tricky as hell. Yeah, it is, and it always is, right? It's just tricky in different ways. I think right now we're at 98 likes, guys. Smash them up. 99. Yeah, we only need one more to get above 100. So smash them up if you haven't done so already. Thank you all very much for the support this stream here. I did go a little bit late on stream today. I was supposed to go on stream like an hour before I did start, but just tons of technical issues. I'm just getting unlucky right now. I need to upgrade some things in the setup, to be honest. What about the failed ceasefire in Gaza? I don't really know anything about that, dude. I don't really know like what happened and why it was failed or whatever. Yeah, honestly, yeah. It's a fucking mess out there, dude. Massive mess. But thank you for smashing those likes up, guys. Shout out to King Cosmic. Thank you all very, very much. But yeah, as far as a pullback, this shit can stay irrational for so long. We just saw... We're seeing so many developments right now, and then, and then AI companies have been quiet on releasing new LLMs, right? GPT-5 was like... you know, like 5 months ago now, maybe. Grok 3, you know, was earlier this year. It's a good model, sir. You guys remember that line? How many people watched that keynote? That was funny. So there's Grok, there's GPT, there's Gemini. These were all models from, you know, a while ago. Llama hasn't done anything recently, you know, from Meta. So, you know, I think we're totally due for a kind of next round. I mean, ChatGPT just came out with Atlas the browser, so they're going for more like real world like connectivity with the tech now, so you can use it like, you know, more fluidly in your life, and that's kind of the next step for AI. That's what Meta is doing with the new Ray-Ban glasses. You know, it's all about bringing this, you know, hyper useful technology into more easily accessible places now. And that's going to be, you know, I think the big thing that really allows AI to transition from something that everyone's kind of heard of to something that, you know, everybody can't live without, right? And we obviously knew that we were headed there for some time. Dude, I'm not running this treadmill, man. This treadmill's this treadmill's fucking me up. It says, it's got like an error message, just like stops working. I don't know exactly why that's happening. But yeah, I'm just gonna keep it unplugged for a little bit. But what incline do I have on the treadmill? It's not even old. It's like a year old, you know, and I didn't even use it that much. And it doesn't have an incline. It's just, you know, it's just an office walking pad, you know. But anyway, you know, with all of that, I don't know. We could still see corrections, and we should. We should still see corrections too. But you know, the S&P just had a correction. It just came out of one. You know, and and this is the other thing, right? One of the reasons that I don't think we're anywhere near the top is that we got this correction right here, and it really like upset people. You know, like people didn't take it well. Like people were quite upset by the idea that, you know, the S&P kind of did that. And I mean, obviously it coincided with the Bitcoin drop, and it just feels like the market is still too emotional over these drops, thinking that at every drop we're going to get a market crash, right? So, you know, that's generally not how markets are going to top. Generally, it's going to be retail that are actually piling in, running off the cliff together, because the market is never going to stop going up, according to their perspectives. And obviously that won't be true either. And, you know, I think because we haven't even started seeing any of that. I think that really says a lot, you know, about how much further this could go, because it's all about converting those people who don't accept that the market is bullish. It's about converting them to being bullish, converting more and more of them to being bullish. And you know, and obviously a lot of these people will believe it and they will revel in it, and then it'll be swept from under their feet. It's something we've seen so many times. Do you feel that they'll keep us down until Trump has full control over the Fed? It seems like, with a couple of really smart people I know, that that's what they might be trying to do. Like that, I'm hearing those rumbles coming from, you know, a couple people I really respect. I'm not really the, you know, the conspiratorial type when it comes to, you know, matters related to stuff like this, and that's for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because who fucking knows? It's really hard to say. It is just like stoner talk to an extent. It's not at all. But you can understand why I'm saying that. Like, it can definitely go down that route quite easily of like, you know, dude, what if Trump's trying to seize the Fed, dude? You know, and it just kind of like gets a little bit, you know, down a rabbit hole like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it can easily go down that route. So I think that's another one. But I think a big one, I think probably the biggest one, is that I just don't think that it has to be conspiratorial like that. I think that actually this is bigger than any single president or person or company. It's, you know, I mean, we saw this change when GPT-3 came out, and, you know, then models started becoming open source, so everybody caught on and developed their own. And now we're at this kind of, you know, sort of saturation point in a sense. And, you know, now it's about kind of adoption for that tech. I just think that it makes complete sense that that's happening here now, where, I mean, yeah. I think that's what we're looking at. Long-term stock bet, 10 years, oil stocks will be golden. They're undervalued now while everyone focuses on tech. I can see that. I could see that. I don't think I would put money on it, but I can see that happening. But yeah, like I said, you know, severe reactions to these kind of drop, you know, conspiratorial kind of ideas. And like I said, my take is just that, look, this is bigger than all of that. The tech is just massive and it's changing the world. And there's a transition period and nobody really understands it. And I think one of the big things that people don't understand is, like, why the markets are able to stay as strong as they are. I think that's really kind of fucking with a lot of people. But, you know, now what we're entering is a really, 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 really crazy place. Because a lot of those tech companies at the top of the world, a lot of them are up here. Where is Palantir? It's down here at 28. $471 billion valuation. That's probably a little bit higher now. So, you know, Palantir, you know, partnership with NVIDIA, or, you know, OpenAI officially registering as a for-profit for, I think, like, part of their entity. It's not clear what their structuring, you know, does exactly, at least not to me. But, you know, it looks like the world's kind of rapidly moving into that transition, and I don't think that we should expect that average people can understand what's going on. And what do I mean by average people? Really, I mean anybody that's not inside of those spaces, either in those companies or deeply invested in them or a deep stakeholder in them. If you're not any of those things, then how could you be expected to understand? You know, like, it's not really your game. Is this chat AI made? I don't think so, dude. This seems like real people. Weird. Why Colorado? They just wanted the talent, right? Denver's just, like, that hot, isn't it? Yeah, nuclear stocks probably very interesting. I don't know any nuclear stocks personally. But, Palantir is going to own the world through data. And then we're talking about NVIDIA, you know, the company that creates the tech to process data. Like I said, I just don't think this is a world that we should expect people to understand if they're not in this world. And so when everybody's reaction is, oh my god, it's going up too fast, the S&P 500 needs to slow down or whatever, it's like, but do you understand why it's going up? And if you understand why it's going up, do you think it's going to stop soon? I don't think anybody in the space that actually knows what's going on thinks that it's slowing down. Because it's not. It's obviously fucking not. You know, the drops that we saw earlier this year, where people thought it was slowing down, exposed it all. You just have, like, normal fucking middle-class people that have a fucking finance degree and think they're qualified to understand how tech rollouts work in the AI sector. No, you fucking don't, dude. You have no clue. You work in a slow world. That's not gonna last with the tech that's coming out. Everything is getting rolled into one package. Everything is getting automated. End to end. Everything is happening seamlessly now. The tech is mature. I'm telling you, they'll probably pay well, at least to some extent. They can't in the future. They can't. And that's why, like I said earlier in the stream, it's like, well, what do we do as fucking normal plebs? All right, well, you know, you look at the stocks that make sense, right? And, like, I personally think that, okay, well, if this shit's running, I may as well get in. So that's why I'm interested in stocks like Tesla. That's why I'm interested in stocks like NVIDIA. Amazon's still huge. We can't sleep on Amazon. Meta, huge. This market is a joke. 2025 has been wasting time. That's what I'm saying, dude. There's just this, like, extreme aura of negativity in the space. I just think, like, if you're a retail participant that's been, you know, kind of upset, frustrated, whatever, with these markets for a while, at this stage, it'll be more painful when the markets keep going up, right? Like, if the markets drop from now, retail is going to get what they want. Since when did retail get what they want? This entire market cycle, guys. This entire market cycle, since when did retail actually have anything they want come true. When did it happen? Since the beginning. It doesn't happen. That's just not a characteristic of this market cycle. Like, everybody is getting the worst possible outcome that they could have, you know, thought of. And right now, that sounds like a Bitcoin pump. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to 𝐒𝐂�lads. Shout out to Badger saying everyone smash up the likes. Thank you very much. Let's get this thing up to 150. We're close. Tom Brown is invested in nuclear stocks. Interesting. Let's see. NNE. I don't even know these companies, dude. Now, let's see from the lows of this year to the high. Oh my, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, that's fucking 3.5x, dude. 3.5x. What are we doing in crypto, fam? We got to be in these markets. Well, I am now. I'm glad I am. Fucking hell. I'll be talking to you guys more about it, you know, on these videos. Shit, took me long enough. But I'm here now. Very excited to make some money off traditional finance, especially while crypto's just going through its, you know, hormonal periods here. Thank you very much. Cool to see Belgium here. Do I see an inverse head and shoulders? I don't know, dude. Not really. I don't even really know. I guess so, yeah, actually there is. But you're saying, like, if Bitcoin basically does this, that would complete it. Yeah, that's definitely real. Yeah. And it's just another, you know, I mean, we just got another rejection off 117, right? So, you know, if we're able to mount another attack now, it would be a lot easier to break that level. Same as the support. That's why we don't want to see ourselves falling all the way down there. Mig says, I always feel like I'm in my own room here. It's equally dark. Plus, the other YouTubers sound dramatically hyped up. Cardiac arrest material. Damn, dude. Bitcoin will go up. Truth. GG on talk. I could teach, bro. Stop. I don't know what you're saying, dude. What the fuck is that? What the hell? Oh, man. Even copper went up massively because it's used in the centers. Interesting, interesting. So, but Bitcoin here, you know, like I said, if it's able to just kind of make some work from this, pull off a recovery, you know, let's say tomorrow we get a little bit of bullish news from Trump and, you know, Xi Jinping, then, you know, I think there's going to be a pretty good chance of a recovery. And again, I think it's all just a waiting game before some of these resistance levels break. Nothing has actually changed. Yeah, that was gibberish. I mean, done anything too crazy. So, you know, like I said, very, very suppressed. I don't like the suppression. It would be a lot nicer if Bitcoin was able to, you know, enjoy some, you know, like, you can't just go shorting this thing or selling. I mean, you certainly can. Many people will, and good for them. But, you know, I think for sure, like, it's a tough sell. It's a tough sell. You'll be selling into a pretty healthy market, right? Which, you know, makes sense, but only if you're happy with the gains. You know, otherwise, if it's a healthy market, you probably want to, you know, hang on a little bit longer. I don't know. Some people will. I'm not telling you what to do. I can't do that. You already know the deal. Do your own research. Got a little bit of talk about copper. Let's take a look at copper here. I don't know which copper I should be looking at. Just look at this one, yeah? Let's see what copper is doing. So copper from the April crash fell down to $4, and it's up by a decent amount. It's not really going too crazy, but there is clearly an upward pressure on it. There could be a breakout here. You know, like, because if we see a lot of collaboration between China and the US, and everyone's just building semiconductors and everybody's really happy, and let's say America even produces a bunch in-house and stuff like that, whatever the deal is, everybody's going to want to produce their own chips, right? If we see more of a push for that moving forward, India announces it, you know, the UK announces it, France, Germany, whatever, Saudi, you know, like, just other big high-profile countries just start saying, hey, we're making our own chips, or at least going to try. These things will, you know, really push speculative. It seems like, you know, not everybody's going to make money, but those who are positioned well will make a lot. Seems like that's kind of, you know, the market we're in, and that we've been in for some time. So, All right, ladies and gents, I'm going to be rounding this off right here. It has been about an hour that we've been live, so thank you all very much for tuning in. It's been an absolute pleasure. Get yourself inside of BroFi with the top link in the description right here, enter.brofi.com, and you will be getting yourself inside of our private group on the other side here. Super, super excited for this, so get yourself inside if you are interested. I will see you there right now at the end of this live stream. All right, cheers, guys. Smash up those likes, subscribe, tick the bell, do all that good stuff. You already know.